Hello, Managing Madrid Podcast listeners. This is Kiyan Sobhani. What you're about to listen to is a small clip from a much longer episode, which went up exclusively over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid and included topics like who will start versus Real Valladolid on Friday, the best places to eat and hang out in Madrid, our favorite Benzema goals from last season, Endrick stuff and his performance last night, Brahim Diaz, Jude Bellingham, Luka Doncic, and much more. If you want access to that, go to patreon.com/Managing Madrid and enjoy today's clip. And we'll be back tomorrow for a full episode on this RSS feed to discuss the post-game stuff from the Real Valladolid game. So stay tuned for that and enjoy today's clip in the meantime. Thanks for listening. Let's jump to it. Andrew Houston says, hi, Kiyan and Lucas. Every other day, it seems like some wealthy investor from the US has purchased a share of some Premier League team. I have loads of friends who watch football and none of them watch La Liga but me. The US and Canada are one of the largest and most lucrative markets in the world. And I fear if La Liga don't step up their game against the Premier League in North American market, then they will fall further and further behind. I know you guys just met with La Liga reps in Toronto. Is there anything they are doing to compete with the Premier League globally? That's part one of the question. We'll jump to part two later.
This is a very interesting discussion, but I think that it's very tough for La Liga to compete with the Premier League in a global market. You know, in every country outside of Spain and outside England, I think it's almost impossible. I think the Premier League has done a brilliant job over the last 15, 20 years. Really, I think they've marketed their product really well. They've done a very good job of using the resources they have, and obviously the fans from small football markets, like for example Africa or Asia, those places who lack decent representation in the global market of football, they tend to follow the Premier League much more than they follow other leagues or other clubs. So I think it's almost impossible for La Liga to match that kind of reputation that the Premier League has outside of Britain and outside of Europe, really. In Europe, obviously, everyone supports its own club mainly. But outside of that, North America and Asia and Africa are markets that the Premier League is dominating right now, and it will be almost impossible for La Liga to equal that kind of reputation, no matter what they do. Honestly, they can do a brilliant job, but I think the Premier League is so far ahead that it'll be almost impossible for La Liga to match that kind of reputation.
Well, speaking to the reps in Toronto, Catherine is one of the La Liga ambassadors for Canada. She came to our Toronto podcast, both of our Toronto podcasts that we did. And speaking to her, I mean, they have challenges getting people out to events, La Liga events, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's, I think they had like a decent amount at their Classico watch party. But I think overall it can be a struggle. And the reality is it comes down to where the superstars are,
Yes.
Those who are Real Madrid fans are Real Madrid fans. You don't need to explain to them,
Yes.
I'll come out even if our best player is Julian Faubert. I'll come out and watch Real Madrid because I love the club. You and me are like that. But there's a lot of La Liga fans or Real Madrid fans who maybe are more passive, or there are non-Real Madrid fans who would watch La Liga or Real Madrid if the superstars are there. So that's one thing. This will fluctuate based on, this is why we had obviously the Classico of Mourinho versus Pep with every superstar that played in both of those teams. That's at an all-time high, right?
Exactly.
Now, I want to also bring another point in here. One is that a lot of La Liga clubs don't allow for public investment. And most notably, the top two are not privately owned. So sorry, that's what I meant. They're not privately owned clubs.
Yes.
And so they rely on their own revenue. So far, that has worked, but ultimately that has a ceiling when you start to put it up against these oil-backed clubs. And that's why you see Real Madrid expanding their revenue of amusement parks in Dubai. By the way, I saw a lot of people complaining this is so dumb. Why are Real Madrid doing this? Bro, then don't complain about not signing your favorite players. Stop complaining. This is a clean way to make money. Just let the amusement park happen. Let the vision unfold. So that's also part of the importance of doing those things that provide extra revenue. The other thing is that there are a lot of La Liga clubs who are actually privately owned, but La Liga also works in a way that prevents them from spending too much.
Yeah,
there are strict salary caps, and it's based on how much you generate, how much revenue you generate also in the club itself. A team like Girona, for example, could theoretically, they have enough money, right?
Yes.
They're owned by the City Group. What was the team that recently was bought by a rich Middle Eastern investor, Almeria?
Yes.
That happened in the summertime. Theoretically, you could just start buying a bunch of great players, but La Liga salary caps only allow for so much spending too. Premier League has a salary cap, but it's not structured this same way. So it's a combination of all those things, I think. And to be fair, I think these rules are placed for good reason. It's to prevent bankruptcy and to provide healthy financial books.
Yeah.
Which is also extra important and great if you're only one league competing with yourself.
Yeah.
But once you start competing with other leagues, then it becomes, you start to really see where the financial gap lies.
Yeah.
And I think like to dig yourself out of that, I think would rely on financially stable teams, first of all, as with strong, healthy backbones in La Liga, which isn't the case across the board, especially after the pandemic. And from there, you can start building and maybe attracting stars. And I guess my hope is that it will be cyclical. But right now, Premier League is just so far ahead financially. It's really hard to.
Another level. It's on another level completely. Yeah. You can also we can also discuss the thing that La Liga is not. I think it's not doing itself any kind of favor by banning the promotion of highlights and all that on social media.
So brutal.
I think that's terrible for business, to be honest.
Yeah, great point.
Every time I want to share a clip of an NBA game, I know I have no issues whatsoever.
Yep.
So I can share every single pass from a Jokic game or whatever, and anything I want. And I know I won't face any trouble. And La Liga doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I just cannot share a single assist or anything without getting in trouble. And I think that's terrible for business. I get the side of things of, this is to protect the broadcasting rights and the TV rights that are pretty much what are keeping the business alive. But on the other hand, it prevents fans who don't know you or who don't follow your competition to get interested and involved in the competition itself. So I think La Liga also could do a better job in this regard.
It's medieval thinking. Like, it's so backwards the way they run the copyright stuff. Imagine, Lucas, like every time you went, I mean, you don't do this. I follow you on Instagram. But imagine like every time someone went and posted like a picture of their Starbucks cup and checked in at Starbucks, came in and it was like, stop advertising our cup, banned. Copyright. Like, that's, I know it's not exactly the same thing, but
it's similar. Yeah.
Like, this is free advertising for your league.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of ridiculous thing would it be to, like, if someone puts out a Vinicius compilation doing all these amazing dribbles and someone else watching them like, wow, this is amazing. I should watch every Real Madrid game to see this guy play. But then that video gets banned and blocked on Twitter. You're not doing yourself any favors. Like, it's really backwards.
It's even worse. I'm kind of used to it because one of my other passion in sports, aside from basketball and football, is MotoGP, motorcycle racing, and they are even worse than La Liga in terms of the use of social media and clips and all that. I remember that they published a video tribute to a rider who passed away in the middle of the race because of a crash, obviously. and the promoter banned the video because it had some footage of him overtaking other riders and all that. Come on, man, it's a tribute video and you're still banning these kinds of clips on social media. It's just terrible. It's just terrible and very bad for business. No coincidence. It's definitely not a coincidence that both MotoGP and La Liga are struggling a little bit in the rejuvenating their fan bases and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, the NBA not only allows it, they actually allow revenue
They
sharing.
promote it.
They
Yeah.
promote it, and they actually pay people when they post that stuff. In not all cases, but in some cases, there's revenue sharing involved in this stuff. And by the way, the NBA is one of the most successful leagues in sports.
Absolutely.
And it's nonstop fun. And that they need to figure that out, and they don't care. They don't see it. By the way, this has been brought to their attention, and they don't see it. They're blind to this aspect of it.
In the NBA, I can watch a 10-minute highlights of a game every single morning of the game that has been played the night before. I can watch it instantly on YouTube without any kind of issues or whatever. So it's just baffling to me that you cannot do that in La Liga, and it's definitely bad for business, I think so.
Yeah. The second part of this question from Andrew is also, I will be in Spain on vacation during the home game against Elche and will be going to the game. I am looking for some restaurants and bars and any tourist attractions to do while in Madrid that day and evening, as I will be in Sevilla the rest of the trip. Thanks, guys. Love your work as always.
He's looking for advices in Madrid, right? Not home game against Chelsea. Yeah,
Elche.
I got confused and I thought that he wanted advices and tips for the game in Elche, but I didn't think it was a home game. In Madrid, well, you can do the usual. You can visit the Bernabeu for the museum. You can go to Puerta del Sol. You can go to Retiro. It's a formidable park, one of the best in Europe, I think. And in terms of bars and restaurants, it depends a lot, obviously, on your budget. Madrid is no short of different options for you. I don't live there, so I cannot recommend you any specific restaurants, especially because of the I don't know the budget you're on. So. But it's impossible not to find the thing you're looking for in Madrid. It's a big enough of a place for you to find the kind of place you want to visit.
I don't have much to add other than what you said. Then if it's just one day and one night in Madrid, then just maximize it. I know it goes without saying, but don't stay in your hotel or Airbnb. Just be out all day, because Madrid is incredibly vast and really fun to tackle, and you can spend a lot of time in it. And even myself, now I'm basically, I don't spend as much time in the city now. I'm trying to explore outsides and some of the other areas, but there's just so much to see. But I would say, in addition to what you said, and it really depending on your budget, if you have a little bit of a higher budget, I'll give you 3 restaurants that I really enjoy, late night restaurants. The type that are just you go when you sit, and just really high quality food, really great atmosphere. Pantera, Quinto Elemento, and 10 con 10. Those are 3 really, really great restaurants. If you're on a lower budget, I would say just stick to the tapas bars. The one that I really like is El Sur, and then Alhambra is another one. Those 2, take note. If you want casual food, Tacos al Pastor, they have €1 tacos. There's lineups out the door. That's also in the city. Chocolateria San Ginés is a must.
Don't go to Madrid to eat tacos, though.
Don't. You're right. However, I love tacos. So
I do too. But if it's his first time in Spain, go eat some Spanish food, man. It's not that Spanish food is terrible enough that you should avoid it.
Yeah, but didn't you and I have this conversation? I think I asked you where to eat paella, and you said don't eat paella in Madrid.
In Madrid, no. Just stick to tapas, I guess. In Madrid, you don't eat paella in Madrid. I don't think. I haven't read any single worthy paella place in Madrid. I think all of the paella places are in Valencia. So paella, I know people tend to think outside of Spain that paella is a Spanish dish, and it's right, obviously, because Valencia is from Spain. But a good paella, you can only find it in Valencia, I think, or in the in la provincia de Valencia, in the Valencia province. So just stick to cocido madrileño is another local dish which is very good. I think, what was the name of the place in Madrid? Can't remember. But cocido madrileño is not for everyone, I don't think. It's a very typical dish, but it's not for everyone. So, but just stick to tapas. I think there'll be no shortage of options in Madrid, definitely.
One more thing. There's a few more like great cafes, local cafes that are fantastic, but I won't get into the list because I don't want to overwhelm Andrew. But the other thing is, if you're only there for one day, try to squeeze in the two major museums, which is Reina Sofia and the other one is Prado.
Yes.
Mind-blowing stuff. Like, you'll find original paintings from 2000 BC, like, that are just preserved and incredible to see. Like, there's so much history in there.
Yes.
Would highly recommend.
Malacatín is called the cocido madrileño place. Again, it's not for everyone. Just if you're interested, go Google cocido madrileño, and if you like what you see, Malacatín is a good place to eat it in Madrid.
Andrew, we better not see you ending up at McDonald's after all this list.
And or eating tacos.